Cheers.
Good morning, all. We're back into the small town VIP, Vancouver Island practitioner setting this morning, obviously in preparation for Christmas as well. I'm welcome into the home of Moana Paulus this morning, who is both an exceptional practitioner and a good friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to chat about the passions of our lives when it comes to helping others in particular. I leave the floor to you, maybe as an opening, to tell us what it is that you do and how you got, maybe how you got to be doing what you're doing now.
Moana is my given name. It's a Maori name, Polynesian name, and I work currently as Polynesian in the Polynesian healing modalities of Hawaiian Lomi Lomi and Maori Romi Romi, which are very similar body work modalities. I formally trained probably started training about 10 years ago, but we've been doing it our whole lives. My mom is Maori and her parents were also healers, and that work was passed down through the generations a bit. We always did it at home, but I didn't know that there were names for it until I ended up on Hawaii and started studying things there. So that's what I do. I started a private practice here in Campbell River probably 9 years ago now, and that has kind of morphed into more of a group work. I work a lot with the First Nations people, and what I think what happens most is that it aligns all of the bodies, energetically, spiritually through the physical body. So it's pretty similar to what you do too, right? We align all of these things through this meat suit. Yeah, that's all of it.
Well, we're going to get our meat suits to bring their voice out this morning to talk about things. So as you were describing what you're doing briefly here, the first thought that came is, what you do is really important, and yet it's kind of in the background. It's not, that might not be even the right assessment, but, so as an acupuncturist, of course, I have to be registered. In order to use acupuncture needles in a person's body, that is seen as a medical practice. So I fall under the Health Occupations Act of BC. And yet people like you act in the background still, are not so visible maybe, because you're not part of a college.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate that?
I'm more comfortable not being part of a college, I think, because my guidance comes from really divine. That might be a word that people like to claim for themselves, but I feel like when I get out of my own way and let the impulses come through, that really my teachers are most like, I feel my grandmother a lot when I'm doing the work. The ancestors come through for me and for the person on the table. So it's easier for me to actually fully engage in the session if I'm not worrying about particular guidelines and regulations. I, of course, have a super high ethics standard, and I've was registered for a long time. But for me, it's easier to be able to bring in the spiritual aspects because that's my work. The energetics and the spiritual part of things, I think, our bodies carry the densities in them because those kind of things got out of whack. We carry the trauma in our cells. We carry the old generational and ancestral stories in there. And so if I can't bring in the spiritual, emotional, mental aspect of things, I just don't want to do it.
Right.
So it was a big consideration. What do I do? Should I stay registered? And then it was the second I was like a quick hit. I was like, nope, this is not going to happen. And from then it was really the people that end up on my table are the ones that are at that stage in life where they're really doing the work and they just need assistance. So I work a lot with grief, trauma, loss, shock, and help move that through the body. And I just, it's the best part of things. I just can't imagine doing it without the spiritual aspect of any of it. And by spiritual, I do mean spirit, but I also mean the energetics of it too.
So how do you make a difference between those two, spiritual and energetic? In what way are they different?
They are pretty tied together, but spirit has pretty distinct in my life when I'm working. I hear things, see things, sense things particular to the person that's on the table. So
Mm.
when I start a session, there's always, my chant is always to call in my healed ancestors to work together with their healed ancestors. Then the messages are always different. The places my hands go are different. The movements we're doing are different. It really is just a drawn out way of saying my job is to work together for the highest good of that person on the table, help them feel if they need to relax, get their flow going again. Really, it's just reconnecting the energy bodies. That's different than when spirit is actually connecting and talking. So if I'm listening to the energies, or I think qigong is probably similar in getting it to flow and matching it up. Acupuncture for sure. We got to make sure those meridians are like click, click, click. And that's what my hands do when I'm on a person. Different if I might be on their glute and all of a sudden I get the imprint that or the message that they have maybe they lost a child or something. It's hard to describe what happens for that person, but there's always an instance where I get the imprint of what it is that's really bothering them and what they're really holding on to, and then it can move through. I sometimes will ask a question. I try not to say, I see this in you. Is that what's happening? Because that's pretty presumptuous and could, send them off.
Well, it could be misleading too. That's
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And the other side of things is also when I've welcomed in the ancestors to work, and like I said, just open up to channeling that. I don't remember what happened in that session after the session. I feel rude sometimes because I'll meet the people again. I know we know each other from somewhere, but it's also protection for me and them. I don't need to revisit their stories when I'm meet them in a store.
What better way to have privacy about a session anyway?
For sure.
So and because that's happened many times to me too. People say, "Well, do you remember when you said this to me?"
Yeah,
I said,
you're like,
no,
no.
I said that.
Yes, exactly. You're like, confidentiality is a given.
Yeah, and for them, it's highly relevant, highly memorable, and for me, it just comes in the moment.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's great because that's what it's supposed to do. Help them do their own healing.
Right.
You don't have to carry any of that for them. And I think that's the best part. I don't need to have repeat clients all the time. They come, they work through their stuff, and then maybe half a year later, they're back again because something new's happening.
So it's interesting that you bring that now, repeat clients, because one of the topics I'm exploring with some of my fellow practitioners right now is how do we make ourselves known in the public without going into all the traps of, oh, how many repeat clients do you have? Like, going into a business model where I must sell my services, what I do. And I know very much that word of mouth in what I do is what matters. This is how clients come around for me. It's like when people are ready, they show up, which is something that my Aikido teacher told me one day. He says, if what you're offering is good and true, build your space, be open, and people will come.
Yeah, my kahuna said the same thing to me. The very first Lomi class I ever took on Big Island, he said, you put out the call, they will come. I was like, well, how do I put out the call? I'm thinking, Facebook sponsored ads and all that stuff. He says, no, you make your space and you let it be known that you're ready, and the right ones will come. Right. And I think that's also very important.
Right. And it's the right one with respect to that they are ready, but also that I am and you are the person that can best help them in that moment.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And I really, my biggest thing, I love when people come and say, I go for massage here and I'm doing acupuncture there. I'm like, yes, put your toolbox together. I don't need to be your end all be all, because that's not my role. I don't want that, but to give a little impetus at the moment when the energies meet each other and the vibe is correct and it's the right time, right space, because then it's the most powerful, I think. Right. People like also, and I'm aware of this a lot when, especially in the spiritual community, I think people get like a little bit of a high that happens, right? You have a good release or you're feeling connected and whole again, and they want more of that hit. And my job is always to make sure that people are leaving super grounded, if they can, like back on earth and actually moving forward in life rather than just wanting the next quick fix of fix me. Though that is lovely, but
Well, and then but how many of those do you get? Like fix me, because right, it's
yeah,
not
not
really what you
mm-mm,
present yourself, and that's what I noticed for me as well.
mm-hmm,
And I had a good example of this recently, and as I kept listening to this person's story, I was thinking, oh, gee, how do I tell her that I'm probably not the person that she's looking for,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
And in the universe conspired this, and then like our message got anyway. So it
You
turns
didn't
out
even have to.
you didn't have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, funny.
Yeah. Um, one of the most maybe memorable a memorable time of your experiences as a healer is when you were telling me about your work in Lahaina
Mm-hmm.
on
Maui.
on Maui, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you share anything about this? Because that was quite relevant in your life too, at a time where you were not so sure,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to like the whole experience of is this really what I want to do? Is this what I'm meant to be doing? I've always kind of gone through these, yes, it's amazing. No, it's not quite. But that was my own healing journey that I had to
Right.
do as well. So rather than, I'm big on heal thyself before, especially when we're working in the energetics
Hmm.
and spiritual department, because there's just no space for ego and there's no space for damage. Like I can't fix myself. Okay, great. I feel great after doing a wonderful session. I'm super happy that I helped. But that's a problem on my part then if I've allowed that to be my medicine.
Mm.
I have to be good and 100%. And my other clients know this. And I say this when somebody gets in touch. Yes, this is the date that we're setting. But if I'm not 100%, I will cancel it because I just think you have to be 100%
Right.
in order to create the protection and the container that is necessary. Maui just has something. My very first Lomi session on myself was
Oh,
given to me by beautiful practitioner over on Gabriola, a lovely white man. And I went into such a trance and had this amazing vision during it. I was shocked when I opened my eyes and realized, oh, he's still just a white man, not just a white man, but like he's a human because it was such an important vision. In that, and we talked about this after, in that vision, I saw actually, I was in a boat and being called to the islands, and I saw all of the Maori people up on the shore, and
mm,
I saw the Hawaiians, and they basically called in my canoe, went up on shore, they parted ways. I end up in an A-frame hut, and there's a big man there, Kahuna. So I was prone on my knees and had my hands like this, and he put a chalice which was full of clear, bottomless water. And basically, I took this chalice, they stuck me in my boat and sent me on my way again. Had no idea what that meant, but it stuck with me
mm,
really, really clearly. Things started aligning. I went and studied holistic health, went and did like a Lomi class because it happened to come up, and it just started to go click, click, click.
mm,
Many, many years later, I end up on Maui with my current kumu Gina, and we go to a sacred place. And I already had the chills, so we had made an offering um, in front of this huge rock made out of lava stone. It was like an old temple heiau from way back in the day. And the chills were running the whole
mm,
entire time. So we make an offering. We're standing looking at this thing. I'm having all these weird visions and just trying to keep my feet on the ground. And I turn around and there's this flippin' A-frame house. Like the house from my vision is there. And I asked her, I was like, are there cliffs? Like, because you can hear the waves. She's like, yeah. So we jumped the fence, went out to this clearing, and there were the cliffs. So it was one of those full circle moments happened on Maui. This was a couple years before the Lahaina fires. So I had done a lot of studying, done a lot of practicing, and then the fires happened, and my kumu was like, we need as much help as we can get. So I went down,
mm,
um, helped out in the relief centers. One of the chiefs there and his family were serving 1,000 people a day, sometimes a bit more, and they were sleeping on the ground after that. So they were a little sus of me at first, but then they'd send a kid to get on the table, and then one of the uncles got on the table, and then it was great. And then they started sharing story with me as well, and just welcomed me really into that community. And I learned so much just by being with the people on the land. Also learned a lot about the dichotomy between natives of the land and colonial, I was just going to say money. There was a lot of money and people who were really offended by these displaced people having their relief center on the corner of their golf course. And sometimes I had my jaw on the ground because I thought, oh my God, what world are we living in? Why are people golfing and taking pictures of the people coming to get help who had been, they lost their homes, they lost their families. It was a huge loss. But Maui has always been a center for it's like a heart center. It has a pulse, it has a vibe, it's home.
So what the thought that comes to mind for me right now is like what a perfect example of what dissociation looks like. Right?
Yeah.
Because here's the heart of the island. The Maori, the native people of Maui, and then the colonials, descendants, I guess, and playing golf, which is I mean, that comes from England. It really it's like, wow.
Yeah, it was very wild for me. It was really like because I've gone to Hawaii as a tourist many, 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 many times, and I actually never thought about it. I have a reverence and a respect for the land always. I do for every land that I go to, but it didn't make as much sense to me until that moment. I thought, holy, here's a whole town that's burnt down, and here's a perfectly green golf course in the middle of a resort area with beautiful flowers blooming, and just the stories that were coming out of there. It definitely changed my perspective. But then aloha kicks in, and the Hawaiians actually lived the principle of love and breath and helping each other out. It wasn't the big governments that people were a little in my experience mistrusting of that, but they definitely were pulling together and helping each other out on the islands. And I see that actually in the First Nations community too that I work with here. A lot of stuff that's under the radar that nobody really, I'm privileged to be part of and to witness now this reawakening of culture. Because the Maori people in New Zealand are very loud and proud and strong in their culture and language and medicines. And I think Canada is just a little bit, we're a couple decades behind, I think.
And then Canada's a big land.
Yes.
You got different people, different tribes, ancestral tribes. Like I grew up in Quebec, near Montreal, and so the whole First Nations group there have been subject of influence of the white people for a long time. And when I grew up, my attitude was the damn Indians, because that's what I got from my parents. And I guess what I saw or was exposed to. And then more recently, I befriended another white man, but in the Kamloops area, whatever that area is known as, generally speaking. He grew up side by side with First Nations. He has friends. His friends group have that experience, and I'm looking at this thinking, wow, like how I couldn't conceive something more different in terms of interracial, if you would, experience than what I witnessed there and what I experienced.
I grew up in a really small town on the west coast of Vancouver Island, and I didn't realize there was racism because it might have also been my household. My mom she was a teacher, and she started to teach all of the women, all of the immigrant women wives English. And so our house was full all the time. Like I think in my class we had 30 kids. We probably had 15 different nationalities. They're in my household at any time. Like my mom would hold these potlucks, and it was always international because everybody was international. So they were bringing their favorite dish. Like we were exposed to so many different foods and languages and people. I didn't realize that there was something like separate, that there were others. It just was. It was this huge, great big. It really was a melting pot. And a lot of those people from that town are still in touch with each other. Like it was a very cool experience.
Where was this?
In Tassis.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah. So just tiny little West Coast town. And
I mean, you had to have a strong community sense because you're so isolated there,
yeah,
especially in the winter.
yeah, it was interesting because everybody had, of course, typically you find the people that you resonate with
Mm.
the most or the familiarity. So of course, the Italians and the French and the Polish and the Koreans and Chinese and the Indians, but everybody would still get together in our home for sure. I mean, that's how I met my husband. My mom just invited him for dinner. Any given weekend, there'd be people sleeping on the floor in the living room. She met people always. My mom was always like this big, welcoming person. So that's kind of what I like my practice to do, which is why I like working in the big groups as well. It's like that in Auntie's living room kind of healing can be done everywhere.
I was going to ask you that question. So
Hmm.
what is healing in your perspective then?
I think about this a lot because we were also raised in a religion, and I remember the Bible. So religion aside, I remember the Bible. There's the saying, "Where two shall gather, where more than one shall gather, he two shall be." So I think as long like this is medicine. What
Mm,
we're doing now is medicine. Connection is medicine.
mm,
Um, and I think that's why the world is kind of missing on that. We've got religion separated a lot of people. It fear
mm,
creates that disassociation, then there is the connection can't happen. So I've lately, over the last couple of years, it's not necessarily what happens on the table, it's the connection and the connecting of people. I see myself more like a networker and
mm,
bringing
mm,
people from, like, I just saw a Facebook post, this dear man in Hawaii. I sent my elder friends were in Hawaii for a wedding and she was sick. So I called around to different healers and asked, or actually called Gina and said, who would you recommend?
mm,
One thing led to another and they met the right person at the right time. And there's been
mm.
like these, so the elder here and him, they send these healing messages to each other, or when one's going into a ceremony that's going to be difficult, the other will send a prayer. And I think that's what healing is. It's just helping out and connecting from other
Mm.
sides. It doesn't matter where you are. It's really just connection.
Yeah, it's a very pertinent question in my life because as part of a regulatory college, um, I'm supposed to come up with treatment plans. I'm supposed to be acting professionally. Like, so there's a definition about, what touch is appropriate, what kind of conversation is appropriate. And to me, it's always intuitively felt at best incomplete
Hmm.
because at the core of who we are as human beings,
Hmm.
and at the core of this human beingness is this need for connection.
Yeah.
So if I just see you, for instance, as a patient and you're coming in, a patient with a diagnosis and then a treatment plan, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and I don't think I'm doing medicine or
Hmm. Hmm.
and healing,
Hmm.
right? It might be helpful, I'll grant. I mean, most interventions are helpful to some extent,
Hmm.
yet healing has a very different flavor than what we're taught to do.
I'm looking at you and I feel like, who is this man even talking? Because the reason I stuck with you after the first session is because you healed. Like, I didn't even think, sure, you had to take your notes and stuff, but you do incorporate the holistic thing part of things. I think just in your nature of being, you could never just be clinically black and white, one, two, three, four. I get it. I get what you're saying. I'm just looking at you thinking, what do you, who, what?
Because that was not your experience,
No,
right?
not at all.
Yeah.
No, no. And I remember walking in because when we met, I had just returned from New Zealand and I came back with a lot of lot of souls attached, and it was such a different experience for me. I thought I was going to spontaneously combust, or it was menopausal symptoms or something,
Something, right?
something. And as I'm talking it to you, you're kind of nodding and you're writing your notes and you're asking these really pertinent, curious questions that I wasn't going to get anywhere else. And you didn't look at me like I had four heads, maybe two, but not four heads. And we
Well,
just
I
got
couldn't
right.
see all the hitchhikers.
Yeah. And the more we got to know each other, the more comfortable I felt expressing like the actual spiritual
Right,
aspect of it, because I knew it was safe with you too.
right.
I knew that you knew that there was something beyond just the physical and knew how to work with that and realign it. You do the same thing I do. You just happen to use the needles and the breath.
Yeah, and which is, an interesting topic for me because I meet in my 20 plus years now of practice, I've encountered people like you who are able to dwell in the spiritual realm in a way that I don't. essentially.
Mm.
And yet, intuitively, and I will say even logically, it makes like all of this, like I'm able to hold that space, say with you, because somehow intuitively and logically it makes sense. That's the best I can, and then it just flows somehow. And because I have no issue accepting what you're sharing with me, it's like then I can just dwell in there. But it's actually coming, I I would say, from what I learned in engineering in some ways, the logic of things, because there is I like to say there's logic to spiritual realm.
Absolutely. Nothing is random.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't think, and if you look at like, the sacred geometry, none of that is, it's not just like willy-nilly placed there. And the more I got to work with, the more I work with people and the more I have validations of that, the more I'm not a very logical person. I feel more than I make sense of things. To me, it just is. So it's been like a real just learning to trust and have faith that what I'm presented with is the actual fact, and I can't make sense of it. I'm married to a man who's similar to you. He's German, he's logical, he is grounded. And I think that's really necessary. It's necessary for people like me too, to always be conscious of coming back to earth, feet on the ground, out of those realms, especially after a day of work. If I haven't paid attention to that, he's good at making sure that happens. But he's also incredibly spiritually attuned. He just doesn't know how to like formulate it, or maybe that experience that he's feeling actually has anything to do with that yet. I mean, he's only been with me for 30 years, so we got a bit of time.
And also, you've only really aligned yourself to that practice for what you said, the last 10 years, or
working with public. Yeah. So I would do it with family, and more, and it's less and less with family at the moment, more and more with the public, just because it seems to, people are hungry for validation and connection. It's not that I'm teaching them anything new, it's helping remember. So we are moving off a lot of those blockages, and it just leaves their own cells and their own DNA space to actually be like, oh, I knew this. Like my favorite saying is always, you know what you know, and you don't need to know why you know it, because they're just, sometimes there are no words for it. I feel like a baby. Like if I was sitting in a room with a bunch of really learned, let's say not even spiritual leaders, but people who are working, yoga teachers and everything, the language is the same, and the vibe is the same, but I'm missing a lot of the terminology, because I don't, it doesn't make sense in that way to me. It's not a learned experience. It's really life experience. It is what it is. And once I figured out, oh, I don't need another certificate, I don't need another thing. I have amazing teachers. Amazing, who make me feel confident in the work that I'm doing, but it's not something where I feel like, okay, I got to have another thing to prove that I know what I know. I just had to get out of the way and just do it. And every day is a new thing and new validation. Like ancestors love to be like, yeah, you got it.
Here's the next one.
Yeah, exactly. Just think you're doing well. But I think also, I mean, I don't know when we met, like, what was that, 5 years ago, maybe?
It's gotta be more than that, no?
I have no idea.
So that would have been 2020. We met before.
Oh, it was way before. Yeah, it was before COVID. Yes, you're right.
It's funny, right? We COVID is such a defining time, right?
I think I went maybe beginning of 2019. So we would have met like the summer there.
Do you remember the space I was in when you came?
It had trees around it, not the Dove
little
Creek.
blue house.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe. That would have been, no, that's too far.
No, it was, you were just visiting. It was a friend. You were in a little cabin off to the side.
Right.
Yeah. And I've seen your development and change also, to like that, where you're dropping a little more of the need for the explanation of things, and it really is. I remember before you went into like your questioning period too, of what am I doing? Like, is this what I want? Is this spiritual work? Is very, very interesting. And I've backed away from it a lot of times. I did not go into this voluntarily. I was like shoved consistently. I dug in my heels, and I still do it sometimes, right?
Well, it's kind of what happened for me now. That like I'm feeling myself now again, like if more clear than I ever was. And even though a year ago I was doing all these courses to go work on the water, I was like decided that nothing showed up.
That's not. You're like, I'm a ship's captain.
Yeah, no opportunity is like I want to be a ship's captain,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Mhm.
part of the aside from the fact that I'm kind of too old to start that journey, but I would have been okay being a deckhand
Mhm.
on
Mhm.
some interesting project.
Would you?
Yeah, I don't know. I
You
feel
never will.
I will never know. So part of what we're gonna do today too is share some qigong
Mhm.
movement, and so the as an introduction to that, what I like to ask is, what do you in your journey right now as you continue, is there a particular challenge that you are aware of in your own either well your own life, whether it's
Mhm.
personal or professional, because it all goes together. When we start working in the spiritual world, there's no
Mhm.
dissociation; it's
Mhm.
all one.
Mhm. Um, Immediately, for some reason, it goes to the physical. Um, my body is really attuned to world energies.
Mm,
So shift like moon cycles, all the fun stuff. But stagnation has always been a bit of a thing for me. So it's hard for me to get my lymph flowing freely. I'm really good on hydrating, nutrition's really good, movement is really good. But I feel like sometimes I absorb. I'm also in the at the end of a pretty heavy work week.
right.
So I feel like I can tell when it starts to get stagnant in my body.
Mm.
That one exercise we did last time with just the bouncing, genius. And then I forget to do it, and then I realize,
Well, we're
oh,
gonna do it
okay,
again
yeah,
today.
awesome, because it's
That's where
really
I was going
cool.
right away when you
Yes,
told me that. Right.
yeah, that, and then that is it. That is really it at the moment. Is like helping get the stagnant energy, and then the toxic load that I help remove from others.
Right.
I'm just not processing it fast enough.
Okay. And then, so similarly to in the people that you work with, if there is such a thing as a pattern that you notice or a common reason that you encounter in the
Hmm.
background of their dysfunction or
Hmm.
their disease, would there be, is there something that comes to mind?
Yeah. What I've seen in the last couple of months, two things. People are being very affected, almost a lot of vertigo, like not being
Mm,
they can't find the balance again, or feel like they're walking off kilter, like the world is moving in a wonky kind of way. And the other one is really, I don't know if this is anything easy to work with, but it's almost like disassociation through story. So it's like they can't relieve the mental chatter, but it's preventing any kind of forward motion or healing because the old.
that story keeps coming
Yeah,
back.
yeah. And
Oh,
but it's not even it's just stuck in they're stuck in the loop of the story, which ends up being for a lot of people the autoimmune dysfunction in the bodies. Hi.
because the story is very hard cutting on themselves, maybe somehow,
Yeah,
right?
and it's a habit. The storytelling. It's also part of the identity, I think. And
That's right, because it becomes a defense mechanism. It
yes,
wasn't once a defense mechanism,
yeah.
but now it's really
Hmm.
undercutting their own life force.
Yeah, so that most, especially with the women, it creates a lot of anxiety. Men more, it will be the depression, like a more depressed state, and for women, it's like a high functioning anxiety
Like a manic energy, you would
gets to
say.
be, yeah,
Well, that's the
yeah,
heart,
yeah. So not sleeping,
right? The heart.
over functioning.
So in
Hmm.
Chinese medicine, any kind of insomnia um, has to do with the heart meridian.
Hmm.
And and so in the five elements of Chinese medicine, we look at joy as being the emotion of it. While joy itself is fine,
Hmm.
it's a normal emotion that the heart is meant to express. But when we're not able to express it, then we go depressed.
Hmm.
Or if we use it as defense mechanism, then it becomes manic. It's like this,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
uh, maybe not, well, it might be anxious, but it has this highly activated
Hmm.
energy, right?
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It's almost like a frenetic, like
Right,
frantic kind of scrambled. Like it just doesn't connect properly. It's like
right.
sparking off in all different directions.
So we say in Chinese medicine that the heart is houses the shen, houses the spirit, the soul, of
Mm,
course, right?
that makes perfect sense because a lot of the people that I'm working out with lately, because it's trauma, abuse,
Mhm.
you know, very early abandonment, or addictions in the family. Um, really, that's what I would say the last year or two has been predominantly. There's people recognizing now that they have had certain traumas that they want to work through because it's impeding them in moving forward in their life. So that disconnect makes perfect sense at the heart,
Right.
and also not having an outlet. So so get so busy in just their job, there's no creation flowing through anymore, and yeah, or it's a lot of doomsday scrolling.
Yeah, there's plenty of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You think so too? Yeah. Junie's our very sensitive emotional support dog.
Yeah, she's been hanging around.
Yeah,
Right?
she's a good, she likes energy. She's very sensitive to that. Great.
Okay, well, we'll pause and
Okay.
reset ourselves in the practice space, and
Awesome.
then explore some of these exercises that that we will share with the public.
Yeah,
Actually.
because I love the bouncing one is amazing. Anybody can do it. Like, you can even you can do it with older people just sitting. You don't even have to like have a big
Well, it'll be
space or
interesting to see when if you share that with people that are sitting, because the alignment of the spine is really important with that exercise. So being able to position them in a way that they can do the exercise would be interesting on a chair.
Yeah,
And
like that.
chairs are all different too. That's the
Yeah,
other thing.
like the elders, and you know, like my dad, for example. I guess he could do it on his feet. Okay.
Okay.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
See you soon. All right, so we're going to explore some movement now from a medical Qigong perspective. And the first set of exercises that we're going to do, two simple exercises, are meant to help people like you who work with many people who carry a lot of traumatic injuries. So, you know, the presence that is needed in your case, so that after a while it starts to weigh down. And especially if you don't maybe take the time or have enough time for your own self-care. So this first one you could do, even you might already do this as part of your spiritual practice, but bringing down the heavens is a simple exercise to help clear the fields around. So if you just find yourself with feet about shoulder width apart, finding a stable posture. I like to find my weight a bit closer to the front of the feet, the bottom of the feet, so that the spine supports the all the weight. So the movement is really simple. The arms come up, palms down first, and at the shoulders, the palms turn up. Okay, so that's just the movement. We'll do that again. So now, as you come up, you gather earth energy, palms down, and then heaven's energy, palms up. And all this energy is brought down the front of the body, clearing the field.
Does it matter what? So inhale when the arms are going up, exhale on the way down.
Okay, and then again, earth energy, heaven energy. And then you sweep the back of the body and the fields. And letting that dissolve past your legs, past your feet into the ground. And once more. And down the center, so through the crown, the brain, chest, the abdomen, down the center of the legs.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, yeah, the swan in the core is really powerful. So you can slow it down, of course, and really take time to visit these areas in your body that feel this. We can even do it. We'll do it once more for the core. And where you feel that it's sticky, you slow down a little bit and really allow it to maybe swirl around and
good, because it did. Like,
see?
why isn't it going past
So
you?
there's the intuitive part of you, right? Okay, let's do it once more, right? So earth, heaven, and right down the center.
Yeah, that was different that time. That
That's
just
right.
flows. Yeah.
So, right. So mostly you did it the first pass, right? So this clearing happens whether one is aware of it or not. So in your case, you're quite aware, and so that's really good because now you can slow down, you can adjust the speed.
I love it with the arm motions because I tell a lot of clients, even if you just need to ground in with a breath, but that actually moves and gathers the energy and like refills things again. I like that.
And so there's something else that happens with this too that's very much from the philosophy of Chinese medicine, and in particular Qigong, is that we are supported by the earth, our true mother, and supported by the heavens, our true father.
Mm-hmm.
And that we human beings exist between these two realms, right here in our heart.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, I like that.
So the exercise to help move the stagnation is movement, of course. Our body needs movement. And I like to bring our feet a bit closer. They can touch if that's comfortable or not. And then we're just going to let the body bounce. So the easiest way to do this is to actually let your body fall and notice where the tendons wants to catch it, and then bounces you right up. So that's most of the movement is actually focused on letting your body come down, and then it bounces right up. So as we do this, it creates a wave in the spine from the sacrum, where I feel a bit of stagnation there today, and up the whole spine into the neck. And in this case, the breath is relatively calm, slowly, with no particular length. So the other thing we're doing here too, you let the focus be more towards the ball of the feet. You activate kidney one, your connection, your energetic connection to the earth, right at the center of the ball of the foot.
Yeah.
Kidney one. And then if you want to dislodge deeper into the bones and into the marrow, you let the heels come off the ground on the way up, and then you let them tap on the way down. So it creates a vibration through the whole bony structure that comes up all the way through the head.
Kind of cool. Like I can feel it actually moving things around in like the organs and stuff.
So when we first do that in our training, we do that maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. There are teachers who will do this for half an hour with their students before they do any other form of exploration. So we'll maybe do it about 5 minutes here today. That would be, I would say, the kind of the bare minimum to really get the impact of this. When I do it at home, I have no timer. I just keep going until I feel that the body's warmed up.
It's interesting because I can feel where it's like, oh, before those bones were kind of like stacking differently.
Right. In a program I was listening to recently on cancer, it was emphasized that one of the best exercises for people who have cancer is the rebounder.
Yeah.
With what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
No need for a fancy trampoline.
They're expensive too, I looked.
Well, of course they're expensive. You need them for healing, so,
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So that's the beauty of Qigong, actually, is that we can teach our body to move with intention and help people who suffer with cancer or are struggling with cancer or find themselves in life where they cannot ignore the stagnation anymore. Right? Well, I guess they can, but that choice of ignoring is kind of a one-way out.
Exactly. It takes something like cancer or a heart attack usually to help us, to force us into looking at things.
Or sometimes just a high blood pressure is enough.
Sometimes. Funny thing that. I think everybody should have to do this every day.
So I'm aiming right now to do it 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah. Definitely before any group work.
That's right. So returning to just bouncing without creating the vibration. I call this frog bouncing on Lilly.
Yes.
And then we can stop and then return to feet shoulder width apart and notice what's moving. Okay, so moving into an exercise that would be helpful for people you work with who have whose hearts have been impacted one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
One of my and we talked about this before, Chuck Spezzano in Psychology of Vision, it was very clear that one of the reasons that people here are so affected still is that the wounds are have only occurred like maybe 100 years ago, like as opposed to out east where I grew up, it's 400 years of history already. So it's still fresh,
very acute, yeah,
very fresh in their spiritual mind and their ancestry. Right, 400 years, you've gone through more than 7 generations.
Yeah.
Here, maybe 4 generations.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very fresh, and so it's much more acute, much more palpable for them, much more also available for healing.
Right. Yeah. Right. Without having to scrape off too many scabs. Yeah.
Right. So the exercise for the heart, the one I'm going to share right now, is relatively easy to share with others. So again, finding ourselves in a posture that favors alignment of our 3 centers. So the one below the belly button, the one at the heart, and the one in the head. We shift our body weight so that it's more oriented towards the front of the feet a little bit. So that might feel a little uncomfortable and certainly unusual for people. Okay. Let's gather some energy from the environment around us. And then bring that right in front here, about, say, a hand's width away from the body. So this is the physical field of our body. So we're going to go from right side to left side, 12 rotations here. 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we reverse, we go the other way, 12 times. So in Chinese medicine, we use color, we use sound as part of the healing process. So we're going to explore the sound ha today, which is part of your Polynesian culture, I understand. Right?
Yes.
So that's the healing sound for the heart. There is also a purging sound that we're not going to explore because the purging sound can be, when it's done by somebody on their own, it might be too much. So the beauty of the healing sound is that it can be done repetitively and you're not going to be purging or letting go too much. So the exercise is relatively simple. We're going to breathe here. And as we breathe out, we're going to bring our hands palms up and exhale here. And let the arms come down. We gather energy again. And we're not going to massage this time. We're going to go right into the exercise here. So breathing in and using the sound this time. Again, gather energy from the surrounding. Going into position. Let's do it one more time. Gather. Letting the hands come down. So these fields around us, there's a physical field that we first worked with. There's also a mental emotional field. So this one goes from about the edge of that physical field to about, say, 1.5 foot, 30 to 40 centimeters. So in that space now, we're going to massage the mental emotional layer of our heart. So again, going 12 times one way. And then same thing the other way. And then gathering again. So the sound now at the mental emotional is a whispered sound. Same sound, but whispered. When we release from any parts of our body, our eyes are open. Breathing in, gathering. And we'll do it once more. This time, as you gather, imagine gathering the pink of a wild rose as a color. Bringing that into the heart a little bit first, and then letting that displace through the sound what you no longer need.
Like that. It's kind of like sharing the love. Yeah.
So gathering one last time, this time, gathering that light pink through the spiritual field. So that's past the mental emotional. And then bringing in through the mental emotional, through the physical, and right into our. Any excess can be directed to the lower land. Well, I could have covered at the beginning that the emotions that we're working with are. So when you look at a 5-element diagram of Chinese medicine, joy is the emotion. Joy, of course, is something that we're okay expressing. When we're either repressing that our joyful experiences and tends to create depression in the person. So the lack of joy will be really depressive. Sometimes joy is used as a way to compensate or to overreact, say, to instability or to so then it becomes more manic, more like a nervous laughter. And it's easily recognizable because it's the first response. It's often out of place. And it can be as intense as more like a manic expression.
Yeah.
Right? So when we do the ha sound, the idea is that we're releasing to that sound either what's no longer serving us from the depression or from the manic, because there's something to learn there. And this is what you're helping your clients discover. It's like, what is it in that place of depression that you're trying to sort through in your.
Yeah. And is there a different way to, fill whatever gap is in there or void is? Yeah. I love it. I also love the similarities, like the ha between the cultures, like aloha or aroha, which is the breath of life, right? In love,
right?
Like they are actually in the words love.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, 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 ding. Nice to see you all.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoy these contributions to your life, and I'll see you again at some time in January.
Yay.
And maybe we will.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.